Hello guys and welcome to the second video of this week number 3. So as I mentioned in the previous video lesson, we are going to discuss a little bit in deep about the linguistic and stylistic level of the text, right? So if you go to the slide number 3, you will see something that we will discuss in a moment, but let's take a look at the message that is intended. It says the writer presents form and language in a way in which the reader can establish a connection between what is said and how it is said, right? So style has a lot to do with that, yes, with what I want to say as an author, what the author wants to say, and the way, the instruments, the tools, the style, the figures of speech, the comparisons, the different let's call it linguistic tools, or let's say rhetoric tools that the author uses in order to transmit that message, okay? So there's something in there, as you can see, it's like an image, and I am going to ask you to take a minute to try and read it. How would you read that? Okay, so if you want to pause the video right now, to stop it and check what will be the order. Like, would you read it up for down? From upwards to downwards? Would you read it left, right, right, left? Would you read one column and then the other, right? What is like your impression? What would be your way to approach this content? Okay, try it before I say it. I'm going to read over here for you this poem, and let's see if you were able to guess how it was the correct reading, right? So the poem is called 40 Love. It says, middle-aged couple playing tennis. When the game ends and they go home, the net will still be between them. Okay? That's it. Well, it's quite easy to get. Now that I read it for you, some people will just like read one column and that will say 40 middle couple 10 when game and go there will be twin, and that doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Or they would read the other one, or they would read in a different order. Well, so there is like a first thing over there, right? Like this is a poem and it has a very particular way to be read. Yes, normally we don't really read it in that way. We do not separate words in that way. So just the word tennis, as you can see on the left, is 10, and in the other column is the knees part. The same with the between, no? So B, and then there's some sort of a dash in there, and then twin down there. So let's analyze a little bit the poem. 40 Love, I don't know if you're familiar with that. Many among you may like tennis, and this is a way to calculate, or not calculate, to present the score in a tennis match. Yes, so one of the contenders, or one of the tennis players has a score of 40, and the other has love, which means 0, nothing. Okay, so that is a particular way to be expressed over here, right? We know that he's using technical language related to tennis. It is like if somebody, I'm not really fond of soccer, but nevertheless I know some terminology about it. It is like if this poem was called offside, or corner, or goal, or something like that. Yes, that will be completely related to a sport. But is the author speaking about the tennis itself? Like, does he want to invite the person to play tennis, or is he saying that tennis is really fun, or is he praising tennis? Not really. That is not the real focus of the poem. No. So let's take a look at what it says. It says, middle-aged couple playing tennis, right? So middle age, what is the middle age? Well, of course, it really depends on the place and life expectancy. But normally, middle age is between 38, 40, 42, 45. Yes? So there are a couple of middle-aged people and they are playing tennis. Now, is tennis like a really accessible sport? When was the last time that you played tennis? Have you ever played tennis? Yes. So I assume that among you there may be many answers as no, I have never played tennis, and if I have, it was some years ago, or maybe some of you like practice tennis, and that would be really nice. But my point over here is that it is not a really common sport because it is expensive, right? And it is normally associated with a way of life related to high standards and high style, and somehow wealthy people. Yes, not always, no, but it's usually associated to this thing. So we have this middle-aged couple playing tennis. If they are playing tennis, well, they don't mention exactly what day is it, but we can assume that they have a certain economical status, right? But they are playing tennis over there. Then it says, when the game ends and they go home, the net will still be between them, right? So you know that, let's say, generally or basically, the sport consists on a net in the middle, and then you have to hit the ball and sort of reply, no? Like going from one movement to the other until somebody misses the possibility to respond, and then you will obtain some points until some of you is a winner, right? So there is this net that divides the two contenders normally, well, when it's first four of them. But there is this thing in the middle, and normally when the ball like hits the net, well, it's a let's say a way to lose a point or to lose some points, etc. Right? So this net is both literal, because there is a literal net between them that separates them. But then if you analyze the poem a little bit, you will see that this net is also figurative. Yes, there's something that separates them, right? We are completely unable to know over here, which is something good about poetry, because if it would be so clear, the poem will exhaust itself really easily, and let's say it would be completely forgettable. We wouldn't be able to talk about it, right? So think about anything you want. Yes, they are sort of caught in the inertia of relationships. Let's imagine that they are married and they have been married for quite some time, but they don't love each other as much as they used to. Maybe there is some sort of possibility of cheating. Who knows? It's not explicit in there, but you can make your head work about it. Or it may be simply because one of them works too much, or both of them works too much, or even if they are about to get retired, well, they don't really feel that connection between them. For whatever reason, there is something that separates them, right? And that something will still be between them when they are at home, when they go to sleep, when they are having dinner, all of this. I think that this is pretty common. We have in our lives probably couples that we remember, such as maybe unfortunately parents, or maybe grandparents, or uncles and aunts, or just relatives or friends who are couples, but their marriage has sort of lost the spark, and they are together still, like officially, but well, they don't really seem to love each other with that spark anymore, right? So this is basically what is proposed in this poem. And look that they are never mentioning anything explicit. Yes, they are not saying they are not loving each other anymore. They are not liking each other. They are fed up about each other. Um, but it is by the symbol of the net and by the representation of the use of tennis that you can get the idea. Yes. Now about the form. Yes. The how. Well, the 40 and love. Yes. That's a score in tennis. Take a look at like the disposition of the poem itself. It looks like a tennis court. There is even a division over there that looks pretty much as a net. And then the disposition of the poem to be read itself. Yes, middle age. So imagine, right? Each word is like going from one contender to the other and going back and bouncing as you read the poem, just like it would be in a real tennis match if you were an spectator, right? You will be looking from one place to the other, and that's it is the how. Yes, so this has to do a lot with somehow the linguistic or the stylistic, let's say, style of the thing, right? Now, if let's say that this For in Love title, that also, as I mentioned, well, refers both to the scoring in tennis, but also refers to how is love when you reach the 40s, yes, when you reach middle age, and how is probably different from teenage love and from the love that they have for each other when they were younger, or when they just married or something like that. And also it has to do also with I mean, if you take a look into the score themselves, if it's 40 and 0, probably one of them has the power and the other has not much. If we talk about a traditional couple, an old couple, a couple of some decades ago, probably all the economic power was on the guy, yes, and maybe the woman or the wife was a little bit less powerless in that, right? So there's a lot of different interpretations that you can use, and as you can see, this is something really short. Yes, you didn't have to read 4 or 5 pages or a whole novel in order to make all these interpretations and somehow these different ways to somehow make use of the richness of the text, right? So if you see, you can select very accurately a text, and that will help you to avoid problems, or let's say to have to be doing a lot of different activities, a lot of different readings. Probably I'm pretty sure that this short poem that I presented to you can be a matter of debate for longer than many of complete books that you have read in the past. Yes, and it's easier and it's accessible than different things. Besides, if there's somebody in the public that by any chance likes tennis or had any experience about tennis, so they will be likely to participate. Or in the other way, if they have had some experience like that, their own experience or the experience of their parents or grandparents, well, that may be another possibility. Of course, you need to be careful with that because it's a sensible topic, but it may be a good thing, right? Well, let's take a look at this poem concept, yes, because let's say that the title that I mentioned before is a poem, yeah, For Love, and let's take a look at the definition over here, right? If you go to the slide number 32, it says that a poem that is also called paranomasia, it is a form of wordplay. Normally, you like sort of play with words, play with different ways to say it, and that is something that we can do in Spanish, of course, and that we do all the time. Yes, using the let's say polysemic value. Polysemic means that it has many meanings. The same word may have 2 or 3 or 4 or 7 meanings or 12. Let's think about bold at the beginning of this course, and we can play a little with that. Yes. So it says that this is a form of wordplay that suggests 2 or more meanings, and by exploiting the multiple meanings of the words or similar sounding words, you can create a either humorous or rhetorical effect. Yes. So by playing by the multiple meanings of a word, you can create like different somehow perceptions on people that can be humorous, yes, something that can be funny, comic, or simply rhetorical, right? Like you can use this somehow in different ways, right? So let's take a look at very 3 silly things that I got over there in the slide number 32, and analyze the puns over here, right? So let's take a look at the first picture on the left. That says an adventure, I'll pack my bags, right? So this pun over here, or this pronomination, plays with the double meaning of the word alpaca. Yes, that is the animal that you can see over there, and the similar sound of I will pack all of my bags. So I will pack my bags. Yes, so alpaca and I'll pack I pack all of my bags sounds pretty similar, right? So the pun over there is that one, right? And there is the picture of the animal over there in order to sort of confirm the pun, right? Again, all of these are really silly, but that is a way to explain what could be a pun, right? Then, in the second picture, there is a family of bullets. There is mommy bullet, the 2 children bullets, and what may seem daddy bullet, right? And this lady bullet says, "What happened to you?" And the guy says, "I got fired," right? And he seems pretty deformed and exhausted and tired and not really in a good mood, right? If you take a look at the picture, well, again, we have the multiple meanings of the word fire, that in this particular case, an initial meaning and very evident would be firing a bullet from a gun. Yes, the literal action of firing this bullet. And well, of course, when you fire a bullet, it will eventually hit a target and it will lose its utility. Like it's already deformed and maybe bent and somehow useless, right? Then again, it also presents this connotation of getting exposed from your job. Yes, like that is a second meaning. You don't have a job anymore because you were fired. Yes, your contract was cancelled. You won't be receiving any salaries anymore. So, well, this sort of pun plays with both meanings because it's presenting the literal illustration of a bullet that is out of job. He doesn't have a job anymore because he was already fired from the gun, right? Very well. Let's finish with this one, the one with the cat. A cat that is evidently characterized as a scientist. Yes, you see, has a bow tie and has glasses and all these recipients, and even there's like a blackboard in the background. Yes. And there's even like additional puns inside that. Yes, before you go to the text, you will realize that there are some what seems to be mathematical or chemical formulas in company of certain elements that are cat related, such as mouse, such as milk. There's even a piece of cheese, I think, right? And then there are some notes in the notepad, and there are some chemical substances, and as I mentioned before, recipients. Even probably you don't necessarily notice this, but the cat is characterized a little bit like Schrödinger, Erwin Schrödinger, that is a really famous scientist that even has this experiment of the of Schrödinger's cat, right? That will be like for the observant eye, or for the eye that already knows a little bit more. Now, let's forget about the image for now. Let's focus on the text. It says, I was going to tell a sodium and hydrogen pond, but nah. So, this may be funny to you or not. But the thing is that he's saying, I was going to tell a sodium and hydrogen pond. So if you remember your school, the chemical symbol for sodium is Na, and the one for hydrogen is H, right? So actually he's saying a pond with that, with Na, that is sodium, and with H, that is hydrogen. And at the same time he's playing with the multiple meaning of the word nah, like I don't want to do it anymore, I give up, I better not. Yep, so I guess that you already sort of get the idea of what is nah, right? So, interesting that he's saying it but negating that at the same time, which has a lot to do actually with the Schrödinger's cat experiment, in which the cat is alive and dead at the same time. If any of you feel curious about it, let's take a look at the experiment that is actually theoretical on the internet, right? So this short pun over there, graphic pun, is actually my favorite because it sort of emphasizes in a lot of different things. It is paradoxical and etc. Right? So we have all these different things over here. So this takes us to we're going to finish over here with this part, and what we're going to do for the assignment number 1 for this week, it's basically 2 things. First of all, you are going to analyze all these aspects of the slide 29, but with the book that you are reading. Yes? You don't need to extend a lot. You simply take one by one, and you can write 2 or 3 sentences in which you analyze how is the book about that. Yes? So if you go to the slide number 29, is it possible to visualize mentally what is describing words? Like, is it good for that, the book that you're reading? It is pretty descriptive, and it's possible to imagine all that, or not very much? Do you think that it would require to have like a somehow complementary things, such as an illustrated version, or show the students maybe a movie adaptation for it, etc. Right? And you're going to take each item, respond emotionally to the text, understand the character's motives, make critical and moral judgments, detect the relationship between the authors and the text. Okay? It is possible that with some books you can find all of those in there. Yes, all of that, and you're able to sort of discuss a little bit that. With some other books, for example, when the author is not really notorious, when you really don't see a lot of reflection of the life of the author in the book, so maybe you say in the point number 5, no, there's nothing about it in the book so far, but I understand that by this moment you have read, I don't know, about 40 pages, I expect, of the book, 30 pages, so you have a general idea of it. So basically it's evaluating that. Is it possible to do it with this book? Yes or no? Okay? That will be the point number 1. As I mentioned, we have like 5 points or 5 items over there. I am expecting 2 or 3 sentences maximum per item. If you want to write more, well, that's great, but the minimum is to do that, okay? So that will be the number 1 about your book. Now, in the second part of the assignment number 1, what I want you to do is one of two things. Find 3 puns in your book. Yes, hopefully there are many of them over there. So hopefully you can find them and explain them. Yes, just like I did. Like I explained the alpaca things, what I explained the bullet, sorry, how I explained the cat. So very shortly, in 2 or 3 sentences, you also explain those puns, right? Basically, that's it. Now, what may happen is that you cannot find puns in your book. Why? Because the style of the writer doesn't include puns. That may be fine. Or maybe because until the part that you have read, you cannot find any puns, sorry, and that's fine. But remember that I have read those books, and I know them, and I know that many of them are full, like crowded with puns, right? So make sure that if you're not going to use any of the ones of your books, it is because really you haven't found them until the part that you include over there, right? Because I don't know, from the top of my head, Alice in Wonderland is a book full of puns, full of games with the language. So if somebody's reading that, he or she will be able to find these 3 puns really easily, right? So, well, second scenario, you couldn't find any pun over there in your book, so I'm going to ask you is to look for them online, maybe in other books, maybe in memes or in other source material on the internet, and explain them. Okay, same thing, 2 or 3 sentences, and that will be more than enough. So I summarize one more time. Remember, slide number 29, analyze your book based on that. And then, as the example in the number 32, you're going to do that, like to find the puns in your book, or to sort of look for them online, and we will see how to do that. Remember, it's not necessary like to spend a long time explaining those. 2 or 3 sentences in each item will be more than enough, okay? So hopefully it is clear, and that will be the assignment number 1 for this week number 2. Thank you very much.